It's that time of the year, Sainers. It's that time of the year. We are ready to launch into the 2025 AFL season. It's Saints TV Weekly. It's the start of a build-up to Sunday's game against Adelaide, thanks to Inglewood Coffee Roasters. So check out their website, as always, www.inglewoodcoffeeroasters.com.au. Use the discount code, get 40% off coffee, tea, chai products, whatever you want. Get in early this week. You might get it by the weekend. And importantly, the weekend is when everything starts for the footy club. So we've got a bit of news, mainly just re-signings. We've got an injury update as well leading up to the game. And then briefly we'll talk about the game itself, which is going to be really exciting. So it's all here. It's all happening. It's kicking off this week. Podcast he's back as usual, so that's going to be awesome. And then obviously the teams Thursday night tipping is on, so you can still join. There's only been 2 games played, so you're not far off if you join late, which is a benefit. $15 buy-in and plenty of prizes on offer, and obviously the grand prize. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Let's go into the big news, the big signings for this week. So Jack Higgins and Hunter Clark re-signed. So they signed until 2029 and 2027 respectively. So we had a lot of unsigned players in the off-season and we got a lot of them signed. There were obviously still plenty that weren't signed going into this season. And a lot of people thought, well, that's actually a pretty good approach because we're making them fight for their spots. Like Jack Higgins, make him fight for his spot. Hunter Clark, injured, doesn't play more than 15 games a season. Make him fight, get fit, and become a really important cog in our unit moving forward. But we've signed them on early, and I don't mind it. I wonder how much this has to do with our free agency sort of approach at the end of the season and sorting out salary cap. Obviously, maybe it's also get all these players signed. Nasai is going to see that his mate Mitch Owens has signed, and these players have signed. So it's a vote of confidence for the players that maybe might be on the fence. Who knows? But I think it's always a good sign if you're a young team to get the youngsters signed. And I know Hunter Clark's not really a youngster, but he's in that bracket, in that demographic where he is going to be part of, hopefully, our next sort of finals-bound team and beyond. And I think it's really important to get these signings. So those 2 are signed. On top of that, Mitch Owens signed until 2029 as well. So he's on for another 4 years until at least 2029. And that was kind of leaked maybe a month ago, to be honest. So it wasn't a shock when I saw it, but I'm very glad that it's done because the last thing you want when you've drafted so well over the last couple of years is to then lose some of these draftees. So I know Naz is the one that everyone wants signed. Clearly, that's an ongoing process because if he had have signed by now, we would have heard about it. I just don't really want it to drag on too much longer because then I start to worry. But, it's one of those things where you win games and these things take care of themselves. You lose games and, of course, people are going to start looking around. But I'm not necessarily thinking that Naz wants to go. I think it's just probably one of those things where it's to be handled delicately. And I'm pretty confident he'll sign. So, I don't think it's going to be a major problem. Fingers crossed. Garcia and Angus Hasty. I think Angus Hasty is a big one. He's had a really, really good off-season, and I think it's a good sign. It's a good vote of confidence from the club to him because of what he can be. And I really do think that by the end of the year, he's probably going to be one of those players that has locked himself into that starting lineup. I'm really confident of that, and I believe he should be playing round 1 off the back of what I've seen at training, but he's carried it through into the pracky games. Collectively, we've not been great in the prackies, but individually, there's certain players that have stood out, and he's absolutely, in that top 5 that have stood out to me. And I think he's earned the right, as Ross would say, he's earned the right to play round 1. So I'd be really disappointed if Angus Hasty is not in the lineup at all come Thursday night's team's announcement. So those are the re-signings. Hugo Garcia, obviously I mentioned there as well, is another big one. No surprise. Pick 50, signing him on long-term, which is really exciting. So that's really good news. In terms of the injuries, let's go through those and see how that might affect us going into the Adelaide game. Mitch Owens was one of them. So he was unable to play out the game against Port because of his shoulder. That's been labelled as a 1 to 3 weeks. So he's probably going to be touch and go for round 1. as is Max King, but let's assume they both don't play. Meanwhile, Rowan Marshall, Jack Sinclair, they've joined teammates in sort of full training. So I believe that they're going to be good to go. They're not under any injury clouds at the moment. Liam Henry also joined main training as well, which is interesting because I think a lot of people assume he's far off, but I don't think he's as far off as we think. Hunter Clark, Zach Jones, they're going to be pushing themselves into round one. They returned through the VFL last weekend, so that's really good, and I think Hunter Clark could be in with a shout depending on, I guess, injuries and what might happen on the track. But I think, if anything, he's probably going to sneak onto the bench or be an emergency because he hasn't played any pracky games in the first. So depends on what they want to do there. Mateus is off crutches now, which is great, and he's going to commence his rehabilitation program. And Dougal Howard and Paddy Dow are progressing with their own recoveries, but still a long way off. So in terms of the injury list, Max King is listed as 1 to 3, so touch and go. Mitch Owens is listed as 1 to 3, touch and go. Liam Henry 3 to 4, but that's going to be pulled back, I think. Cooper Sharma with his thumb is 4 weeks, so he's definitely ruled out for around the first couple of weeks for sure. The Flying Viking 6 to 7, Mateus 8 to 10, which hasn't changed for a few weeks, which is a little annoying. And Dougal Howard 8 to 10, Paddy Dow TBC. So Paddy Dow, we just assume he's not going to play for a long time. So that's not bad, really. Like Max King or Mitch Owens or both could actually play round one. I think that's hopeful, thinking with Max King. But Mitch Owens, shoulder, Sunday game, we've pretty much got a whole week now still. Could surprise, but if not, you'd think Harry Boyd plays against Adelaide, makes his AFL debut, and Rowan Marshall plays, but Rowe probably plays full forward. Because we don't really have many options there when you think about it. So, imagine Rowan Marshall doesn't play. Who would be our full forward? Caminiti would have to play, or Isaac Keeler. We'd have to go really, for the youth there and get some games into him to fill the void of who's missing. But it is Adelaide. Let's get into that very briefly. There is going to be a match preview during the week. But just to give you the lowdown on the details, it is round one, Sunday, 16th of March, 12:35 p.m. Saners. So it is a very early start. So get in your brunch or your brekkie early and get in front of the telly if you're not going to the game. 12:35 p.m. We have not beaten Adelaide since 2022 when Max King kicked 6 straight. I was there at Adelaide Oval, and that was a phenomenal performance. I think that was Brad Hill's 200th as well, for memory. So it was a good day at the office for us. But since then, we've played them twice. We got pantsed by 52 in 2023 when we were playing finals. And we lost last year in a very, very ugly game in the wet where we started really promisingly. We lost that one by 32, 71 to 39. The damage was done late. Phil Thorpe turned into Wayne Carey, and that was the game. And that's the game that Mateus kicked that wonderful goal, roving on the boundary in the wet. So we don't really have the best history against Adelaide. They're one of the teams that people are talking up to improve this season, whereas we're the opposite. And obviously the bookies have noted that with them being $1.40 and us $2.80. I still think those are pretty good odds considering who we've got out and the fact that it's away. I'm not too worried about this game. I'm more curious about, depending on who misses, what can be done. And the exciting thing is, I'm always, I don't know if it's just because we're Saints fans, but I enjoy backs against the walls. Put this young team on the plane, get them to Adelaide. Let's see what they can do. This is exciting. It's round one. It's a free hit. Let's go. I just think it's a huge opportunity. If we pull off the, what people think is going to be a really difficult game and we win, that sets us up. And, that's just a tone setter for the season. So if we go there and who cares how we play, but if we have to play a bit more ugly and defensive to get the job done for round one before we can get some troops back, so be it. But if we can go there and also just run and gun and play the football that I think we're capable of, then it's going to be a really exciting game and high scoring. And we know Adelaide have got a lot of firepower, so that back line of ours is going to be tested. But we'll wait and see on that. I keep forgetting, this is Saints TV Weekly. We're not going into match preview. Check it out during the week. Podcast will be out. The team's Thursday night with Alana and co. It's going to be great. Hopefully I'll jump on as well and we'll go through the announcements. But that is Saints TV Weekly. Again, Sainers, thank you very much for watching, and thanks to Inglewood for sponsoring. Check out all the content during the week. Please subscribe as well. We want to get to 13,000 as soon as possible. And a quick note, you can still join the Saints TV tipping competition, so go to the website, saintstv.com.au, and you'll be able to sign up there. But on that note, Sainers, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your week. And as always, go you mighty Sainers. See you guys.